So you want to take the SAT? What does it mean if you get a perfect 1600? Oh, I know. It means I got 100% wrong. If you're going to take the SAT, stay tuned because you need to know what exactly your score means. And most students have no idea. So this is what most people know. This is the SAT scoring breakdown. You can get a total score of 400 to 1600 points. There's a math section with 200 to 800 points and a reading and writing section with 280 to 800 points. You combine those two sections and that gives you your total score. Now, what most people don't understand is that this is basically a big race. You're being compared to everyone else who took the test. And your score is letting the college admissions or the college that you're applying to, your score is letting them know how you scored relative to the entire student body, to all the other students who want to apply for colleges. So you basically get 200 points automatically on each section. That's the minimum score. You could just log into the test, hit end section, and you'd get 400 points, but you'd be in dead last place. In fact, if you get 400 to 800 points, you're well below average and not ready for university studies. If you score between 800 to 900 points, now you're below average. You're below the mean. And this is pretty hard to do. Now, what the test is designed to do is to put everybody right in this average range of 900 to 1200. That's where you're supposed to be. That's what the test is trying to do. If you get a lot of questions wrong on the first module, you'll get a much easier second module to try to balance it out and put you in that average range. Now, if you're a really strong student, what you'll do is you'll differentiate yourself or separate yourself from the average performance, and you'll score somewhere between 1200 to 1400. And if you're an incredibly strong student, if you're seriously gifted, you'll be able to score between 1400 to 1600. If you're seriously gifted or just like really well prepared, perhaps even a little bit lucky given the questions you get, because everyone gets different questions from test to test. So when this was designed, the designers of the test had the standard bell curve in mind, and it doesn't correlate perfectly with the standard bell curve. And when you go to college or university, whatever you call it in your country, you might take a statistics class and learn a little bit more about this curve. But if you score between 400 to 800, I mean, you're in the bottom 2 to 3%. You basically, maybe you got a couple right because you guessed on everything, but you would have to put in like no effort whatsoever to get this score. If you scored 800 to 900, well, you're in the bottom 15%, let's say. You're clearly below the average and you're probably just not academically prepared enough for the university yet. There's probably a lot of things you've yet to study in terms of the English language or just basic mathematical concepts. Now, if you score between 900 and 1200, you're in the middle. And this right here, this 50 percentile would be about 1000, maybe a little higher. So if you score above 1000, you're over here on the higher end of average, which about 34% of the test takers are going to score in that range, give or take. And if you score below 1000, you'd be on the lower end of average here, which about 34% of the test takers are going to score in that range. Now, most people, something like 65 to 70% of test takers are going to score right here in this range between 900 and 1200. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's what the test is trying to do. It's trying to put you in that range. If you're really strong, and you can kind of beat the test, you'll differentiate yourself from the average and you'll get in this range. You'll be this guy and you'll be in this range of 1200 to 1400, which let's say the top 15% or so can usually get into that range. And if you're super strong, you're super gifted, you're super prepared, you took courses and you know exactly what to expect and you've been preparing for this test for years, and you also have a really high academic or cognitive ability, you can get that 1400 to 1600. So let's take a look at how this translates on the SAT. These are based on 2023 scores of everyone who took the test. And what they found was that median range, the 50th percentile, meaning the person who scored dead in the middle, got about 1010. So if you score about a 1010, that means you did better than 50% of the people that took the test, but 50% of the other people who took the test did better. And there's nothing wrong with that. And that's right about what most colleges look for. This is where they decide that you're ready. If you score under this, a lot of colleges or universities will say, well, you're probably not ready for secondary studies or university studies. Now, if you scored in this range, if you got 1400 or above, you're like an Ivy League candidate. You're in the top 1 or 2% of all the test takers. And the average Ivy League acceptee usually scores around a 1450. And these guys weren't just super smart. They were also really prepared, because this test it has to do with your natural ability, but it equally has to do with how well prepared you are for the test. So most of you who are going as far as to watch these videos and to do some extra studying, you're going to score in this range, somewhere in between the 50th percentile and the 98th percentile here, maybe 1000 to 1450, somewhere in here. And a lot of people look for that 1200 range. So you can't take this too seriously, because the SAT is designed as a way to just tell if you're ready or not. It's a benchmark, they would say. That's why they call it college and career readiness benchmarks. So if you achieve that total score of 1010, you're in the 50th percentile. You did better than half the people who took the SAT. You're probably ready for college. You're in the top half at least. And most colleges are going to say, sure, come on down. Why not come and study with us? You're just like this little kid. Now, if you don't quite get that 1010, you're not quite tall enough to get on the ride. But just like this poor little girl, she's going to get taller. Next year, she's going to come back and she can get on the roller coaster. And if you don't quite get that 1010, you can continue to study. You can continue to prepare, continue to get better with the English language and working with numbers and mathematical concepts, and you will eventually be ready with enough preparation. Students don't really understand how that's scored. You're being graded on the curve there, which is a foreign concept to most high school aged kids. And you're being compared to everyone else, which is super scary. But it's really not that important. If you can get into that 50 percentile rank or higher, you did good enough, and don't let it control your self-esteem or anything like that. Like I said, it's 50% intelligence, 50% preparation, or roundabout.